come from? All of this ilm al-ghayb. How can anybody sweat until it is? All of this, the punishments are beginning for the person on the day of judgment. My point is though, that on this day, as we already mentioned, people will be resurrected in different manners and the punishment will begin. In our next lesson, inshallah, we'll also talk about the safety mechanisms will also begin. Right? Allah says in the Quran, وَهُمْ مِّن فَزَعٍ يَوْمَئِذٍ آمِنُونَ. And the righteous on that day shall be protected from the terror. This is very explicit. So that terror that will happen, if we were truly righteous, we will not face that terror, and that's going to be, we're going to mention this. Now, final point for today, inshallah ta'ala, and then we open the floor for questions. Final point for today, that how long will the day of judgment be? How long will the day of judgment be? There are 3 verses in the Quran that people have kind of like found problematic in their interpretation. The first verse, Surah Al-Hajj, verse 47. Surah Al-Hajj, verse 47. وَإِنَّ يَوْمًا عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ كَأَلْفِ سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. And the day in the sight of your Lord is like 1,000 years of your reckoning. So what this verse is saying is that obviously for Allah, time is not like it is for us. And that's obvious. Our concept of time is different. Allah created time. Time is a creation of Allah, by the way. Time is makhluq. And one of the ajaib of the makhluqat that our minds cannot fully understand and comprehend. And so Allah is saying, very clearly we understand that point, that for Allah, time is different than for what you is. A day in the eyes of Allah is like 1,000 of your years, meaning time is different for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is understood. This verse actually has nothing to do with Qiyamah. So that's not any problematic issue. The other 2 verses seem to give 2 different time frames for the Day of Judgment. That's why it becomes problematic. So the first verse, Surah Ma'arij, verse 4. تَعْرُجُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 50,000 سَنَةً. The angels will come up to him and Jibreel as well in or on a day that shall be as long as 50,000 years. This is Surah Ma'arij, verse 4. So 50,000 years. And then Surah Sajda, verse 5. يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 1,000 سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. That He is the one who controls and monitors what happens in the heavens and the earth. And then يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ, and then there shall be an ascent on the day that will be 1,000 years of your reckoning. يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 1,000 سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. Now, here is where the question marks arise. One verse says 50,000, one verse says 1,000. Do both of these verses apply to the Day of Judgment? Frankly, we do not know. Ibn Abbas himself was asked about these 2 verses. And he said, La adri, I don't know. 2 days that Allah has mentioned in the Quran, and I believe in both of them. Are they the same? Are they different? La adri. Because the verses don't explicitly say that it is the Day of Judgment. Yes, the context seems to suggest it. That is true. But it is not explicit. It could be that Allah is simply talking about this is how long it takes the angels to come up in your time frame. Right? That the angels take this long to come up according to your time frame. Others have said that the Day of Judgment will be 1,000 years of your time frame. في يوم كان مقداره 1,000 سنة مما تعدون. So this one is very explicit because Allah says مما تعدون. مما تعدون means what you are accustomed to. So others have said the Day of Judgment will be 1,000 years long. Think about that. Our average lifespan that we are actually physically awake is around 40, 50 years awake. Lifespan is 70, 80, but in terms of activity, 40, 50 years we're awake. The Day of Judgment will be multiple lifetimes. But it will feel like 50,000 years. So, 1,000 actual years, and it will feel like 50,000 years. So there's one interpretation. Another interpretation, I think number 3 now, that it will be 1,000 for one group of people and up to 50,000 for another group of people, and people in between as well. So for some people, the Day of Judgment will be like 1,000 years, and for others 10,000, for others 30, up until 50,000 years. This is another interpretation. Yet another interpretation is that the 1,000-year reference is not about Day of Judgment. It is about the length of time that it takes for the malaika to go up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the Day of Judgment will be 50,000 years. So the two verses don't apply to the Judgment Day. One of them does, the other one does not. In the end of the day, frankly, I don't know what to say about this. If Ibn Abbas said, La adri, then I follow Ibn Abbas, La adri. I don't know. Are both of these verses about the Day of Judgment? Or is one about the Day of Judgment and one about the creation? Or is it perception that some feel 1,000, some feel 50,000? I don't know. La adri. It is in the Quran and we believe in it. And we conclude by stating that there is clearly some evidence to indicate relativity of Judgment Day. There is clearly evidence to indicate that some people will feel judgment is quicker than others. And of them, Allah says in the Quran, وَكَانَ يَوْمًا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. The Day of Judgment will be a very difficult day for the kafir. And in another verse, فَذَلِكَ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ غَيْرُ يَسِيرٌ. That is a very difficult day. It will not be easy for the kafir. Now, Allah is saying it won't be easy for the kafir. What is the implication? It will be easy for the believer. Because if it would be difficult for the believer, why would Allah specify? This is called mafhum al-mukhalafa, the derived meaning. Okay? Allah doesn't in this verse explicitly say it will be easy for the Muslim. But by specifying it will be difficult for the kafir, the implied derived meaning is that it will be easy for the kafir. And the hadith in Musnad Imam Ahmad, which is one that we should look forward to and try our best to be amongst those people. May Allah make us amongst those people. Our Prophet ﷺ said, I swear by the one in whose hands is my soul, the Day of Judgment will be easier for the believer, so much so that it will be lighter for him. Yani akhaf means quicker for him than the obligatory prayers that he would pray in this dunya. The fard salah, 4 rak'ah. How much do we take? 5 minutes? 7 minutes? It will be easier for him than the fard salah. This hadith is Musnad Imam Ahmad. So for the righteous believer, Day of Judgment is just formalities. He'll feel it might be 1,000 years, but Allah Azza wa Jal will allow the believer to zoom through that. This is